Hello and welcome to today's edition of the Danielle Daily Show. I am your host, Danielle Watson. Thank you for joining me live today. It has been a very interesting couple of days here in my world. As you know, Friday I ended up doing our show from a winery, which was awesome. It was very brief, but it was really great to be able to get out and enjoy the spring weather and just, being out with a friend on a Friday when I really should have been working. So I definitely felt like I was getting away with something, and I love that feeling. I have a great topic for us today. I have today's note to self, and I wanted to remind you guys that wow, we are having the 100th episode of the Danielle Daily Show later this week. Today is actually our 98th episode of the Danielle Daily Show. So if you have been here with me from the beginning, thank you so much. And in my eagerness to hop on and chat with you guys today, I just realized I forgot to plug in my little microphone. So I'm going to just do that really quick so that you have the best sound quality possible, okay? Hold on just one sec. Okay, there we go. So hopefully that sounds a little bit clearer and a little bit louder for you. So yeah, we are coming up on the 100th episode of the Danielle Daily Show later this week. We will have a celebration. I haven't decided exactly what we're going to do, but I need to decide quickly because today is the 98th episode. So like I said, I did some different things over the past few days. Friday, I completely scrapped my work schedule and went out and enjoyed wineries and my friend's granddaughter and just had a great time. Saturday, I actually went into Washington, D.C. for an event that was happening at the National Archives, which was very interesting. And Sunday, what I did Sunday is what today's show is about. So if you are joining me live, I'd love it if you'd let me know just by typing your name into the comments. But if you prefer to just watch the show incognito, that's fine too. So Sunday was a really interesting day, but before I tell you what happened on Sunday, let me take you back to maybe about a month ago. So about a month ago, I attended a local meetup here. It was a social meetup to meet other people. And I'm sitting at the table and there's maybe 15 of us and I'm chatting with people and just having a nice time. And I'd probably been there about 20 minutes when a woman comes in and she starts introducing herself. It's her first time at the meetup. And I can just tell, I don't know about you if you've ever had this experience, you can just tell when somebody is on a similar wavelength to you and you really want to talk to them. So I sat there with my companions for a few more minutes, and I noticed that this woman, after she'd introduced herself, had settled at the other end of the table. So I ended up getting up and moving to the other end of the table because I knew that I wanted to chat with her and I wanted to get to know her a little bit better because I just had a hunch that we were on the same wavelength. My gut just told me there was something there of interest for me. And I don't mean love interest, I mean interest in her as a person. So I went over and I sat next to her and I ended up chatting with her and I ended up chatting with some other people who were at that end of the table. And it's funny because that whole end of the table ended up being the place that I wanted to be. So I thought that was really interesting because if I'd stayed where I initially sat down, I wouldn't have had as good a time as I did because I ended up following my gut and moving to the other end of the table to talk to this woman. And it just happened that the other people who were also on that end of the table were more my kind of people, more of the same interests, more of the same positive attitude. So I had a really great time. And at the end of the evening, I'm walking outside and there are a few of us ladies who've been chatting throughout the evening and we exchange numbers and I say, I'd really like to go to brunch with you girls at some point. And I don't know about you, but to me, I tend to put something like that out there and then I expect, it's sort of like serving the ball in tennis, right? Like I've just served the ball and said, hey, I'd like to go to brunch. And I sort of expect the other person to reciprocate. So if they want to go to brunch, I'm assuming, besides saying, oh yeah, that sounds great in the moment, I'm expecting them to follow up at some later point and say, hey, that brunch that you suggested, let's do it. Well, it's interesting because as I'm getting out there more and as I'm learning more about, forming new relationships and things, I've noticed that, a lot of times that second step doesn't happen. I will serve a ball and nothing ever comes back. And what I realized is that sometimes the second thing you do is actually more important than the first thing you do. So the first thing I do when I meet somebody who I'm interested in getting to know better is I let them know that by making a suggestion of brunch or exchanging numbers or whatever it is. But until, the last year, I wasn't really good at taking that second step because I just sort of expected that it was a back and forth game, right? That if you wanted to hang out with somebody and you let them know that if they really wanted to hang out with you, that they would take the time to reciprocate that and to express interest. And I've just found that for whatever reason, and some of the reasons that I imagine in my mind are just that people are super busy. 2, that they think that maybe you're just being polite. 3, they just forget, like life just happens. So what I've decided is that when I am interested in getting to know somebody better, not only am I going to serve the ball, but I will also actually take the second step, which I have found is the much more important step. So if you make a suggestion that you'd like to do something with someone, it's a really good idea for you yourself, so in this case for me, to follow up with that person and say, hey, that brunch that I suggested that you said you would be interested in doing? Let's do it. Are you free on this date at this time? We could meet at this certain place. And just giving people that extra reaching out to them to let them know, hey, I really truly am interested in this. I wasn't just saying it. I know that we're all busy, but this was something that I really would like to do and that's important to me. So this past Sunday, I actually had brunch with this new friend, and it was so cool because when I reached out to her to have the brunch, I said, do you know anybody else who might like to join us? Because although, brunch between 2 women is fun, brunch with a group of women is more fun, and that would be a great way for me to meet more people who maybe I wouldn't meet otherwise. So I suggested that, and she ended up, it turned out that there were some other women that she thought that, the group of us would really enjoy each other and that we'd get along really well. And so she ended up inviting some other friends, and so on Sunday, the 4 of us all had brunch together. We actually had 6 ladies who RSVP'd. One of them became very ill, and I can't remember what the other one, she had to back out at the last minute. So there ended up being just 4 of us, but it was a great group, and everyone was so thankful to me and appreciative that I had organized this, that I had taken the initiative to say, let's do brunch, and I had chosen a day, I had chosen a time, I had chosen a location, and then I just put it out there, and they just were like, I love doing things like this, but we're all busy, and it's not always easy to fit those kinds of things into your schedule when you're the one that has to come up with all the ideas and planning. But it's funny how if you put the opportunity out there to people, they are much more likely to take you up on it. So for me, the lesson has been that sometimes the first step is actually not as important as the second step. I could serve up a lot of balls. I could make a lot of expressions of, hey, I'd like to get together. Hey, let's do something. But if I don't take that second step, more often than not, the relationship doesn't continue to develop. The second interaction doesn't happen. And it doesn't seem to be because people aren't interested. It really does seem to be because people are super busy and they have other things going on in their life, and they just don't think to. So that is the lesson that I have been learning, and I had so much fun having brunch with a wonderful group of ladies. I hope to do it again. And to be honest, I felt super proud of myself for planning it, because I'm not really much of a planner. I'm much more spontaneous, fly by the seat of my pants. Hey, I feel like doing something. What can I do? So I was very proud of myself for taking the initiative to nail down all the details and then put it out there. And then it amazingly developed into a whole group of us going together rather than just the one person whom I had met, who I was inviting to go out. So I have today's note to self for you. Remember, if there's anything that you need from me, if there's any life thing that is really kind of bothering you or is bothering somebody in your life, feel free to let me know. Leave me a comment, send me a message, write me an email. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to get my perspective on something that you're trying to figure out, a different way of doing things, I love doing that for you guys. Nothing makes me happier than to get messages from you. So are you ready to write down today's note to self? I can't believe that we only have just a couple more notes to self before we reach our 100th episode of the Danielle Daily Show this week. So here it is. If you are ready to write today's note down, it says, "Dear self, sometimes taking the second step is actually more important than taking the first." And I signed it, Love Me, and I'll read it to you again. Today's note reads, "Dear self, sometimes taking the second step is actually more important than taking the first." So like I said, I'm living this. I am living this lesson that second step is really the piece that gets us moving in the direction we want to go. We can do the first step in things, over and over and over and feel like we're never making any progress, like we're never getting to that second step because we're waiting for somebody else to take the second step. And I think that when you want to move in a certain direction, what I've learned is that you have to take the first step and the second step, and then it's somebody else's responsibility to take the third step. If somebody isn't meeting you by the third step, then it's time to just move on and shift into another direction. That's a signal that, this isn't the right direction to go. But I think, the first step and the second step, we need to just marry those two together. We need to just say, okay, if I'm willing to take the first step, am I also willing to take the second step? Because I'm probably going to have to take responsibility for both of those if I actually want to have the third step happen. And remember, you don't have to take all the steps. This isn't about you or even me doing all of the work. It's just about making it easy for people to say yes, because people are so busy. People have so many things going on in their lives. And if you want to be forming new relationships, you really have got to show that you are truly interested by being willing to take both the first step and the second step. So let me read you the note to self one more time before I sign off for today. The note for today reads, "Dear self, sometimes taking the second step is actually more important than taking the first. Love me." So that was today's Danielle Daily Show. I have been your host, Danielle Watson. Remember, if you need anything from me, please let me know. Reach out to me any way that you can. I love to hear from you. And until tomorrow, I will see you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Love you. Mwah. Bye.